Yeah. So my name is Jeeyoon Kim. I'm a classical pianist and also author. I had a hard time to introduce myself as an author for a long time, but after publishing 4 books, finally, sometimes I introduce myself as an author. I'm originally from South Korea. I started playing piano when I was 4. At that time, my parents enrolled me in this piano institute. In Korea, it's very common. Everybody did taekwondo and art, piano. I think that was the main 3 things that everybody did. And I did that too. And my brother also got started together with me, except his piano career only lasted 2 days. But I stick with it. And my parents were very free, roaming, raising style. So my parents were busy business. So I was the one who really in charge of my own study. And every day I went to backpack and go to Piano Institute. We had an everyday lesson for 15 minutes. And I go to my little alley and walk to the Piano Institute and took a lesson every day. To me, music was always just fun. And about middle school, I think my dad asked me, why don't you major in pharmacy or medicine, because that will make a lot more money than doing piano. That time, I knew immediately that I should do piano. When I think about anything but piano, it didn't feel right. So when you are given that kind of choice, I go, absolutely not. I'm actually, until that, I wasn't that serious about, still I was really happy musical kid. I was singing a song and I played flute. And in Korea, it's very much a singing culture. So every time family gathering, they asked me to sing. Even though I could play piano, they always asked me to sing. So that was very much of a part of the culture of music, like singing country. And high school, I had to major in piano. That was kind of the path that I chose in middle school. That meant I changed to art school that major in piano. And I had about 100 friends who majored in piano in the same grade in that time. And we had piano exam every time. And once the piano exam is over, a few weeks later, in the bulletin board, they will list it from 1 to 100, your ranking. I don't know how we'll do that in America, but it didn't feel abnormal just living in that culture. We're like, oh, okay, but you're not surprised by that kind of competition. You just live it in that kind of culture. So when I enter into the art high school, if you make a mistake in the piano exam, there's no way you will make it top, ranking. But there was an award were given for the first top 3 pianist. We call it the top 3 pianist award. And that if you're among 100, you get to the top 3, you will have an opportunity to perform in front of all friends and teachers. After a few exams, all of my friends noticed that there's a top 3 to 5 were people that we knew, always so polished, no mistakes, play like a machine, was just perfect. Even in my eyes, I thought, wow, they were so good. To me, I will never be that top 5. I wasn't horrible, but no, not for me, But then during that high school time, my parents were starting doing the process of divorce, and it was a very difficult time personally. And one time I was coming back from piano lesson. Just out of nowhere, I was thinking, Jeeyoon, what if you put 200% into piano, just 200% effort? What would it be like? What would it feel like if I did that? So I made a conscious choice for the next however time period, just devote myself completely into piano. I was like piano nerd, listening to piano lesson and looking at the music and thinking about music, practicing all long hours. And normally the piano exam took place open, so you can see the judges sitting and there's a piano. For this particular piano exam took place for the first time, closed curtain, so they didn't know who is playing. So when I went to this piano exam, there was empty, big room, classroom, grand piano in the middle, and there was a curtain. I knew that there was people up behind the curtain, but I just went to the piano, sat down, and played my pieces. And at that moment, for the first time, I felt that the connection with the people behind the curtain. I didn't feel like they were the judge. I felt like the human connection with someone that I couldn't see. It felt very liberating for some very reason. And then after the exam, I felt good. I felt that I was making music. And in Korea, every day after class is over, we always clean together. Everybody's mopping and clean the window. I don't know if you do that in America, but we always did. And then one time I was cleaning the floor with everybody else, and my best friend was running towards me. Jeeyoon, did you see the bulletin board? And I go, no, not yet. You're in top 3. And I was like, that's not true. I could not believe it. And I was like, why? What happened? And I don't know, you're there. And I remember the feeling of it. I really felt like, what happened? Why me? And also at the same time, I felt, oh, I did put a lot of effort. And I was able to fly with music for that moment. And there, in that moment, I learned one of the greatest lessons in my life, which was doing all my best and putting 200% effort, giving me a joy of freedom that could not compare to anything that I could gain for other activities. It was on me. And I also realized the growth happens at the end of the limit. So I associated doing my best and feel really difficult. Also, that's another side of it. It's a growth. And that became my seed to everything I did moving forward. After 4 years of undergrad in Korea, I researched what is the best school in America and Germany. Because those two are the countries that I wanted to study piano. And I decided to live both countries for a month and decide which country was right for me. And at that time, I was exchange language students with the South Carolina University. I had no concept of what the Southern versus Midwest so my first encounter of America was a Southern city and where South Carolina University was, and I lived there for a month. And they said, "Oh, shall we go for lunch?" And then they took us to like a 30 minutes drive, which was unthinkable in Korea. I thought they're around the corner, just like a block away, but they were constantly driving highway, and then so the culture shock was enormous. But when I lived in Germany, after 6 p.m., everything closed. I mean, if you know the culture of Asia, or especially Korea, it's everything closed maybe 2 a.m. And it was so like where they go? I mean people have to leave after 6 p.m. No, why grocery stores closed? But there is another culture shock there. But I eventually chose America, and I chose 3 different schools: Juilliard, USC, and Indiana University, was as one of the top music schools in America, and I auditioned those 3. When I auditioned at Indiana University, at the time was January, the whole cornfield was covered with snow, and where I'm from, Busan, we don't get to have a snow as much. So everything was so romantic, and I thought, wow, this is like winter wonderland. And I loved it. I didn't know that was underneath was a cornfield. But when I went to Indiana for audition, I really felt that I could be Jeeyoon again. And this is a place where warmth and seriousness, and then also concentration. It's like a little bubble that I can go in there and study. So I chose Indiana University and study there for master's and continued to doctorate degree in piano performance. And I actually didn't know what I would do after doctorate. 2 years of master was just not long enough. So I continue on a doctorate. And one day I woke up, I became Dr. Kim. And I was like, wow, what is difference? I was the same Jeeyoon yesterday, same Jeeyoon today, but people can call me Dr. Kim. And that was the only difference that I felt. Nothing. And people do say becoming a doctor in any field is something that you finally realize you don't know enough. And I felt the same way. But one thing I learned from those doctorate is that I felt that I could figure it out, the path, that if I don't know anything, and also giving me permission that if school couldn't teach me with that, then it's on me to figure it out. So that was really wonderful assurance that I don't have to know everything. But then even at the same time, I was very confused. I thought after doing one thing for piano for this long, 4 years old to after the doctorate, it was almost late 20s. That is almost like 26 years of doing one thing. I thought world would open up. Hey Jeeyoon, let's tour the world. Or the Asian knock on my door. Nothing happened. And I was very confused. Maybe my dad was correct. I should have gone to medicine or pharmacy, so at least that I can have a job. But what is the pianist as a job? It's a very vague term, you know? What is it? What is a pianist? I was already pianist when I was 4, if the definition is someone playing piano. So I was, at that time, I thought, okay, the next best thing is become a professor, right? I got a doctorate, and so I started to apply to many different places, and I got a job close to job offer in San Diego, where I already gotten confirmation from many of professors, okay, just come to San Diego. And then after I arrived to San Diego, turned out that there was internal candidate there. The other half of the professor decided. So this person even didn't have a doctorate, and I was like, oh, but where do I go? Where do I tell the people? That's just really, I just don't have a job, and he got it. So at that moment, for the first time, right now and now, at that point is 30s, mid-30s, question for first time, Jeeyoon, what do you want to do in your life? What are you good at it? And I don't know I ever asked that. I was just living in this world that I wanted to learn so much, and I enjoyed becoming better musician. Just pure joy of becoming better musician and person. But then in the reality, okay, what is it? But I also thought being a professor didn't fit me. It was a little too stiff. I love teaching, but not as full-time as a teaching. So I decided, you know what? I'm gonna create my own path, whatever this means. I want to teach, but not full-time. I want to perform, but maybe actually not full time. I don't want to go to the cities every week, you know. I'm also very homebody too. And there's many different things that will create my life pie, and some parts of it is the teaching. But then one of the important part of being a pianist is that I wanted to create an album. You know, if you're as a musician, having an album is something everybody does. Even at that time, decades ago, that was the thing. But that costs money. I mean, I'm not coming from the wealthy family, and how one makes album, you know, I question. And one possible path that I thought I could go is creating a Kickstarter fundraising for, you know, people. It was sounded like, oh, sounds like a great idea. I am an artist, I have a vision, and people can help, right? It's as simple as that. And I hired a videographer to create this video, 3-minute video about what I do, what is the vision of this album. And then towards the end of this making album video, the videographer said, okay, Jeeyoon, now look at the camera, ask for money. And I go, well, can you just put a subtitle, caption, please donate to Jeeyoon for first album called 10 More Minutes. Can we just replace that? It's just put just show me playing piano and that's just that. You know, like, no, that doesn't work like that. I create a lot of Kickstarter videos before. The best way is you look at the camera, ask for directly what your mission is, and ask for directly for money. And like, oh my gosh, that was the hardest sentence that I ever had to say. And I realized, I felt very vulnerable. I feel like I'm begging for food, you know. And it was much easier actually talking to strangers than friends and family even. Like for a stranger, like, I'm a pianist, I have this project, you know, but then friends like, you know, I have this project. Well, I mean, you know, if you wanted to, I mean, look at this video I created. It was much harder for some reason. But then little by little, I practiced this sentence to ask collaboration in a way to this project. And I started to realize I have this thing in a neutral place. We want this for this case, this album, to be realized. It's a concept to the real album. I'm contributing to make it happen as well as anyone else. And when this was a $30,000 pledge, it was not cheap. And when dollar comes in, or $5 and $10 coming in, every little dollar cent came with the love message that, Jeeyoon, I support you. I can't wait to listen to this album. Even though they did not say that, literally, I felt that support. And when this pledge was somehow miraculously successfully funded, I really felt like, wow, now I have this mission. I have to make this best album as possible I humanly could. And I film everything whenever I went to New York to record. Hey everybody, I'm here in New York to record. This is day 1, I'm so excited. And then here on day 2, I'm doing a photo shoot here. I invited them every single step of the way of that album. And then, you know, I thanked them, everyone in this album. And then I realized, it was starting from my project in my mind, but it became everyone's project. It was become their baby too. And me inviting them to be part of my project, I create a connection with people and invite them in my playground. And I felt the power of connection. It wasn't begging for money. It was invitation to play. And I realized that as an artist, I have a strong position now that I can create something for everybody, and everybody can always participate, whether you're coming to a concert, whether you just simply listen. You know, it's not monetary. It is kind of creating something human, but become almost an inhuman thing to create that connection. And during that time, a lot of people ask me, Jeeyoon, when are you going to play Carnegie Hall? I mean, as you know, the Carnegie is almost like a symbolic location for, especially for classical musicians, that, okay, if you play the Carnegie Hall, it sounds like you made it, whatever that meant. So whenever they ask me, kind of part of the joke, Jeeyoon, when are you going to play Carnegie Hall? And I said, I don't know, maybe, maybe not. Reality was that in my mind that I don't think I will do. I mean, whatever that takes, I don't think I will be able to. I would love to, but I didn't say much. I said, you know, and also at the same time, does it matter that much? In my mind, doing doctorate for years was much harder step than playing one another concert. Well, it would be nice, but is it really necessary? Like the people put up that much of effort to it? So I didn't think about much. During that kind of time period, my friend went to New York to attend Carnegie Hall, a classical solo concert by famous pianist Michiko Jira. And she bought this postcard, Carnegie postcard, has a chandelier and picture of the stage. And then after the concert, there was a signing. And she went to Michiko Jira and asked her, can you write on top of the poster, why not? This is for my friend Jeeyoon. She's also a pianist, you know, like, and she like, you want me to write it, why not here? Like, yes. Can you just write that on the postcard? So after she came back from New York, she gave me that postcard. This is from Michiko. Like, I look at the postcard, beautiful stage, and why not? And I said, thank you for this postcard. And that night, I was looking at this postcard, and for the first time, I said to myself, why not? Why not? So I was living in San Diego, so I waited 6 a.m., which is Eastern time, 9 a.m. I called the Carnegie Hall booking office very next morning. I was like, ding, ding, and New Yorkers pick up the phone so immediately, like, Carnegie Hall booking office. And I said, hi, you know, I'm classical pianist. My name is Jeeyoon Kim. You don't know me. I'm just curious, you know, how do I play there? And in my mind, I was thinking like, okay, she must be thinking that, this is another those calls. And she probably would say, hang up and go practice, practice, practice. I was in the split second, all of those like, oh, why did you call? And all the stupid, you know, thinkings come through my mind. But maybe 3 seconds later, this lady said, in order to play Carnegie Hall, there was 3 different concert halls, but each hall has a different capacity of the audience. And then she was starting to talk about, you have the right credentials, you have to submit this form, you also have to have a right agent and presenters. And she probably explained the many different things in that next 10 minutes. And I was thinking one ear and the other ear, like, whatever this is, she was explaining in very much of detail. And I was like, thank you so much. And then I hang up. And then after I hung up, I felt within me there was light just turn up. Carnegie Hall wasn't just fantasy anymore. It was not just wildest dream. There's like maybe 100 lists of things, but to me, it felt like if you go to this, at the end of this, you're playing Carnegie Hall. Simple steps. And it felt like tangible steps for some reason. And I feel empowered. I called Carnegie Hall. Few years later, I was in the backstage on a Carnegie Hall. This is a sold out concert. I don't know anyone in New York. A lot of people donate for my first album, 10 More Minutes. They couldn't wait to go to New York, just witness me on that stage. So many people flew from different states. And that was a sold out concert. And I was hearing people just chatting notes in the green room. And I couldn't even picture myself going there when the door was open to the stage and I walked towards the stage and there is a microphone. All my concerts have a microphone. And I go to the microphone and looking at the full house of this stage. And I told them, welcome to my dream. I couldn't even imagine it. I could be able to play Carnegie, but I did. I actually, in fact, came back last few years ago and played once again. And another beautiful experience. And I felt that only thing I felt was grateful. How amazing. Why they're here to listen to me. And I really felt that this was magic created by people. And my willingness wanted to invite people in this playground once again. And I also realized that I believed also now, dreaming is a muscle. Whenever I think about Carnegie in the past, it was me, inside of me was squishing that down. Nobody else did, but me first. I squished that dream. And I don't think it was actually even a dream in the first place, but I pushed myself down anyway. And whenever we don't dream, it's harder to dream. But once you start to dream, it's easier to daydream. And people might argue, if this dream doesn't come true near future, why bother, right? But my notion is different. I think in life, speed doesn't matter, but direction is important. So when you have whatever the wildest dream, that sets you as almost like a compass in your life, where you want it to go eventually. And that's very important for me and for anybody, I believe, that follow that kind of compass that you set. But I also find it very important whenever you dream, started to have this dream muscle working out. Write it down somewhere and do not share it with anybody quite yet. I think there's a lot of research was shown that whenever you have certain dreams, as soon as you share with the public or many people, that dopamine already released by talking about it, and it doesn't have the action power. So whenever you have a dream, keep it for yourself for now. And then the very next day or that day, do the tiny step towards that dream, like I called Carnegie. And I believe that direction or your vision or your dream, with those tiny little actions, those together create enormous amount of synergy in our lives. So always remember that my dreaming. And I hope that you dream as wild as possible. And that's my wish for you. And first time when I wrote a book, again, English is my second language, and when I think about publishing my first book, I thought, I mean, you're a pianist. Why are you doing that? Who's gonna read your book? But then I realized, oh, that's my negative voice monster is talking. What do you want to do it? Do you think you will have fun? Do you think someone will enjoy it? Someone will actually appreciate that you did it? If fun and meaning is combined, then why not? Why not? So I've published my first book called Whenever You're Ready. Every stage before I go on a stage, there's a stage manager holding the door to the stage and ask my permission whenever you're ready. And at that very moment, I always ask myself, Jeeyoon, are you ready to perform now? And I go, I don't know. I don't think I'm ready. I don't know if I will be ever ready. I'll be like, yes, I am ready. Except I'm pretend. But in the reality, I always feel, I don't think I will be ever ready. But despite of that feeling, I do make a decision. Yes. Then they open the door, and there's beautiful chandelier like at Carnegie Hall. An enthusiastic audience is waiting for me. And I realize that we all have a stage called life. Whenever you feel so vulnerable, whenever you're stepping into something so unknown, whenever someone is asking you, whenever you're ready, we all have capacity of saying yes. In that split moment of making decision, yes, it's not happening at that very moment. I believe it's a collection of what you do daily. What I do daily mentally, not only practicing piano, but how to take care of my mind, how to be more positive, how to deal with negativity from myself or from others, or how to create a habit, how to be more creative. All those little things that I do preparing for a stage was so similar to life. So I wanted to share my vulnerable, but then my life tools in the book. And I hope that all of the people, and maybe a little more courageous in whatever they're trying to do. And that was my first book about 2020. And then in Korea, there's a big publisher contact this publisher in America and say they wanted to translate this book in Korean. And I was thinking, Korean is my mother language, and who is actually translating this? You know, and there's professional translators gonna translate this book, and I go, that sounds wonderful, great. Can I try to translate my own book to my own mother language? And just one chapter, and you decide which one is better between those same chapter that the professional translator translating my English book and me just writing. And then while I was writing or translating my book into Korean, I realized it's not from English to Korean. If I use a pumpkin in English, there's no pumpkin in Korean. I just go back to Jeeyoon again and thinking the concept and rewrite completely differently for the culture of the Korea, how the structure different. And I will start this, not that chapter, but starting from my parents' story or something. The Korean really want to know about you before they want to learn from you. You know, that kind of things. Completely different. And But I wanted to up to the publisher. So the publisher contacted me after I did my first chapter and say, there is no competition here. You have to do it. I mean, it's just no-brainer. You have to do it. And I said, okay. But then I realized, oh, this is actually a lot of work. It's rewriting the whole book in Korean. But I did it though. And because of it, I think it became different book than original Whenever You're Ready. And then that book became one of the bestseller in Korea. And because of it, I got to Korea, went back to Korea, which I did not perform much in Korea. But because it's a book medium, I had a book concert. So basically I went into Korea as an author. Ta-da, I actually can play piano too. And then I played music too. So there was a concept of book concert. And it was very meaningful to go back to my own country. In the book that I published in English first. And then all that time. And I felt that it all started from me not putting me down writing. Because English is my second language, and why are you trying to do something else? I mean, you're busy enough to practicing piano. And then from that moment, I realized writing is such a creative thing. And I felt, with the writing, I can actually have very much of a conversation with people that I don't know. I mean, then I was realizing also, I have many favorite authors, but I never bothered to write them. Oh, I love your book, thank you for writing, I never did. I don't think many people do. So writers don't have much of direct interaction from audience. It's your relationship with the book and that's it. You don't go farther to the author and think, while pianists, after the concert, they gather together afterwards and I can really see and feel the audience. So I feel a little bit like, I wrote the book and I published and I can see that, probably sales go well, but do people like it? Do you like it? But then also at the same time, I realized every time I do concert or if I'm writing a book, it becomes its own entity. Whenever I see my book in a bookstore, I see it's almost like part of me living in that bookshelf. And hi, how are you doing? I mean, you're like, but it's left me already. My job is done already. It's gonna have its own life. And it was such an interesting experience for me to write and become an author. And a few months ago, I published my fourth book. It's called Beyond the Keys. And now this is most colorful book probably you ever seen. So piano has 52 chapters. 52 white keys. So I wrote 52 stories, and after 52 stories, and then at the end of each story, you will have QR code that goes to my performance. And then I collaborated with 52 different artists around the world, and that selected the artwork that matches the best, either the music or the story. And my wish is that when you read one story, hopefully that made you think about something in your life. And then take your time to listen to a music, all performance by me. And look at the artwork for 2 or 3 minutes. How many times do we actually look at the artwork? Just look at the artwork. Or listen to music and just listen to music. And this book for me is an invitation for everyone to slow down. And this book is part book, part concert, part gallery in your pocket. And I know once you read one chapter, you really want to go to the next chapter. But I ask all the readers, do not put it down. That means if it's a 252, if you take it 1 week at a time, it's a year long. If it's a 1 day, 1 chapter, that means 52 days. And one of my favorite comments that I get from the readers is, I have 10 chapters left in your book. That means 10 more days with you. I'm sad. I wish that this book lasts forever. I think I'm going to start all over again after it's done. And I said, thank you for following the instruction. Not hurrying go to the next chapter and chapter. And I also put it at the end of this book and said, if this book inspired you, please pass on to someone you want to inspire. And in the beginning of the chapter, before everything, it's giftable. So my wish is that this book will never live in your house, in your bookshelf, collecting dust. Once you're done, your job is giving to someone else. And that someone else, hopefully giving to someone else in the positive circle. And I find one thing I notice about people graduating from classical music, nerd environment, is that normal audience were different than other piano majors friends that knew Beethoven sonatas by heart. And I realized, the real world, people do need a little more context for classical music. And I felt so sad that what I do, which I'm so passionate about, classical music, is that people indifferent about it. But then I started to experiment little by little. I started to invite some of the non-musician friends and tell them, I'm gonna play one piece for you. You don't have to know the composer. But to me, this piece, it's about heartache. But there's also love. And this is a piece that makes you smile, but with tears. And I don't know what this composer was thinking, but it breaks my heart every time I play. And I play that piece. And they were like, what is this? What is this? Is this called classical music? And they get it immediately. You don't have to know the history. You don't have to know who composed even. Just willingness to accept. That was all they needed. But then there's a little more connection was kind of provided by how I introduced the piece. What's made it easier for people to connect. So nowadays, all my concerts, there's a microphone. And I don't go to the backstage either. So it's like you are right here, and I guide them from the beginning to the end. And when I came for this concert tomorrow, you will be hearing my latest concert project called Radiance. And I often don't like to give program notes because you don't need to know really. But I like to give at the end of the concert. So often if I have saying in it, they are given to the program at the end. But then tomorrow they said they're not going to print out any programs. Like, oh, perfect! They're just come to experience. And tomorrow's concert is collaboration again with a contemporary artist. You will see different art collaborating. So you will have a journey of also visual with my music. And I find classical music is one of the best way to travel time and space without the limit. And one of the really memorable comments that I get from people, I remember one concert afterwards, one lady gave me some note and say, read it later. It's like, it's a love letter. Like, okay, thank you. You know, after I came to a hotel, I opened this letter and she wrote, she said, her mom passed away about 2 years ago and she was struggling enormously. And somehow, during the concert, she said she could feel her once again, and somehow she was able to let her go and saying goodbye with a smile. And she said, I couldn't thank you enough. Thank you for the beautiful music. Thank you for the concert. And I was thinking, I don't think I did that. I think the music did it. And that's the power of music. And I was so grateful that I was able to be a messenger of music. And my mission as a pianist is to create a bridge, me as a performer and you and the audience, so the magical power of classical music is more accessible to you. And I always imagine myself as a cup, but transparent glass cup, not the plastic colored cup. So it's not about, Jeeyoon, look at me, see what I can do. It's not me doing it, but without me playing it, you wouldn't be able to hear whatever I'm trying to play. So I have to be a cup, but transparent cup. So whatever inside of the cup, the music, you can drink it. So my job is, it's like actor or actress, that I have this music going through me, and then you can actually receive it. And I find it just such a magical job that I do, such a beautiful thing to do. And the classical music, or music in general, is there for us to heal and also make life a lot easier. And life is difficult, but there are things in life I find as a tool to make things just a little bit easier, and music is one of them. So I hope that if not tomorrow, you get to have, more live concert in your life, because that makes a big difference too. And if anything, you have a 52 musical interaction with me in a private home or in your bedroom. So keep making music or listening to music. And that's, I think, I probably was talking with you about almost an hour, but then I don't get to talk about this at all on stage. You know what I mean? So this is very, very special to connect with you all and perhaps tell you a little more about behind the scenes. And this book, it's actually 52 essays came out from my newsletter that I started to write ever since Whenever You're Ready. So I actually had readers every 2 weeks, ready to go, so eager to read. And these 52 essays were collected. I got most responses. So I was actually, feel like this is something that I made, but I made it with people already. And I absolutely love inviting people into my playground and get to share this joy together. So if you have any comments or questions, this is the time.
I do.
Yeah.
On the book, first of all, can we get that book from you?
Yeah, I have it here. I only brought about 20, including all this 3-day event. You have a first dip here. Tomorrow, I don't know how many will left, but
we won't worry about that.
You don't have to worry about that today.
When we scan the code that you're performing, what do we come up with? Is it just
everything is on YouTube?
Sometimes we can see you.
You can see me sometimes.
I love that. Okay.
But sometimes it might not be, actually might be directly going to my album, but that so it's maybe a static image. Right. Most of the times it's me actually actively playing it, and a lot of the links here is only made for the book, so it's not a public link. So it's only possible
to
read
the book. This is really a cool idea. I love that.
Yeah.
So we can buy that book and you can sign it?
Yes. Yes, I will. So this is, you can see as a main menu. I call it menu, but it's table and contents. But it's like you can create your own mapping of this book. Because this story is independently stand, you don't have to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, let's say. So if you really feel like, okay, I love cat, I love that cat, then you can go to this chapter first, and then you can, it's almost like make your own menu, kind of like journey with it. Or if you like a certain composer, or you like a certain title of the chapter, and you can go there, and then you can go zigzag, or maybe you can go sometimes intended from the beginning to the end, how my publisher really approved it. It's one of the stories that I wanted to share with you regarding the book is that there's a 52 stories, right? And there's chapters about very difficult personal stories, like my divorce or my father. I put that in the chapter 49 and 50. And the publisher, the first editor, and say, reading through the whole thing, and she said, Jeeyoon, you cannot do that. You cannot put those stories towards the end. I feel like I'm betrayed by you. I want to read whole book once again, knowing that started from the beginning. You don't underestimate the readers. They're much smarter than you think, and they notice things. Even though I didn't intentionally hide, I mean, I already wrote it and actually put it in the book, but the fact that you put it at such a major event in your life, at the end, it's not good. Let's go ahead. So where should I put it? First 3 chapters, first 3 or 4. You have to go ahead from the 3 or 4. Like, really? Okay. And so first, 5 chapters, I will definitely go in order. From 5, you can go whatever in order. Because according to the book world, the editor said that really sets a tone. And this is also categorized with the movements, like music has movements. And I categorize with different tempo marking. For example, the first movement is called grave. That means a lot of Beethoven's first movement, Pathetic first movement, it's grave. It's heavy. That's a lot of like personal stories. And then there's Allegro con brio. It's much vivid. And there's a story, maybe how I learned surfing and all of that kind of more fun play and what I learned from that. Kind of thing. So each one has different, and if is any musician here? Anyone plays piano?
Learning?
Okay. So there's a hidden quiz that I don't know anyone actually solved everything yet. So there's 7 different music here. First is this, when you open, it's one of my favorite pieces. Obviously there's no title, you have to figure it out. And first movement, for example, grave. Underneath, there is a broken score, but the only clue is this music also grave, the tempo marking. And each 5 movements has underneath it's broken music on piano music, and in the same tempo marking. So you can kind of, guess it if you're really serious amateur pianist. That you can, I can see this is X, Y, and Z, So that's this little hidden quiz that I don't think I put it as because of that as a secret code, but it became a secret code. So yeah, that's kind of a fun thing that you can play with it. And a lot of artists are So how I chose art too is that it's a 52. So I probably contacted more than 300 people. A lot of rejection, right? Yeah, but 52 said yes, that matters. So I contacted personally. I chose it personally. It was not publisher. It was one of the most expensive, way of making book. But I said, I don't care. I don't want to make money out of this. I wanted to make it reality as my vision, and I was involved with the choice of the paper. If it's making any thicker, it becomes too thick. If any too shallow than this, it becomes see-through. I chose this seam line of the color, and I wanted this feel like a tactile. And this artist of the cover is from Korea. This girl is holding something very precious. It becomes a flower eventually, but each one is a little musical notes. And then there's field and different colors of sky. And then in the back, there's piano. So assuming that she, maybe me, came from playing piano in the field and came to here. And when this artist created this piano, she plays in a black piano, and it didn't feel right for some reason. Black, shiny, fancy piano in the field. So let's make a brown piano. And then after that, she didn't place a chair. And I said, assuming I came from the piano, I need a chair. I need a chair to sit down and play piano, assuming that I came from the field to, piano to the field. So that was a really fun process to creating. And then I hired another typographer, creating a font for this art illustration of the background. And she read some of the chapters of the book and made the font handmade. And then we decided it would be better to have a 3D effect. So it came out, and this is also handwritten. And I probably had 2 different typographer and pay the same, and the other one I didn't choose. I wanted to make sure that the one that I want, that's it. And so I had to ask for 2 different artists. So a lot goes into it, as you can tell. But at the end, so this is the Angry Charlie, and one of my favorite artists. And she came out one of the last acceptance letter she said yes, and I was so happy that Angry Charlie is a part of this chapter as well. So, and this, this concert, this is also grand piano shape. One last thing I wanted to share with you is that every time when you open a new chapter, you will see something on the first that reflects something about the art. So in this case, you see a little pattern that's a bandana, and that color reflects. And then you don't know what it is yet, but when you look at the art at the end, this probably came from the window, and then the blue. So each chapter has its own identity and the color schemes and what goes into it. So it's a very elaborated book, and I wish that I can grab everyone, explain what it all goes into it, but I don't get to. So if you really enjoy the book, and afterwards, one thing you can do really is writing a review on the Amazon. So I do read those, and that's the only way I can see, people do like it, So that's one thing I ask. Is there any other? Yeah.
Do you compose music?
I don't. I learned how to compose. Actually, that's a part of the training. Back in the day, like Beethoven, Mozart, they were composer and the performer. But in this time of era, we're more specifically either composer or the performer. And the first album, 10 More Minutes, I placed a track called 10 More Minutes. That's my Jeeyoon improvising wishing this could last another 10 more minutes. And I was in the studio in New York, and I said, turn on the microphone and I want to improvise. And that is my version of composition, perhaps. And I do improvise in my pajamas, but not on stage. Maybe venture out a little bit more later, but as of now, I might do a little more in a recording setting like that, so that you can definitely hear. And if you were gonna get an album, I would definitely start with the 10 more minutes because of the connection that I create. And that was the album that I start with. And after that, I produced 3 more albums. And tomorrow you will hear Radiance, and also available as a CD form. Yeah. Is anything else? Any comments? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, so interesting.
Without piano. So now you have to come back to actual performance, which will be different, isn't it? Like now you heard me. So if you really see me on stage, you will feel like, oh, Jeeyoon is playing, not then just random pianist. So I hope you can come to the
But then you
concert.
didn't choose pharmacy.
Exactly.